Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. Those who here are physically with us, and also those who are here in online with us for our event from Malaysia to NASA, Success and Challenges, My Journey to Fulfill My Dream from Ms. Florence Tan. But before we start this event, I would like to welcome the Dean of Faculty of Engineering, Prof. Kaha, to give some short welcoming remarks. Please, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mas. Welcome, Ms. Florence Tan, way from US to here. Yeah, but I was told this afternoon she was from Moa before, and I'm also from Moa. Saya kena mengaku lah sikit. Okay, so and also Dr. Yunus, we met during the afternoon session, networking session, and the rest of the attendees for today's event, be it physical or online. Okay, so this is basically a very important event. It's very important because, as you all are aware, the interest towards science is getting lesser and lesser. And you can see, for example, from our SPM leavers, okay, about say only about 30% of our school leavers are science-based. Yeah, the remaining 60% is social science. So this event basically is something that I hope can attract the attentions of those. Okay, back towards science. Science is very important. Engineering is also part of sciences. Okay, and for the nations, for the world to move forward, science is part of it. It's very important. And we are very fortunate basically today to have Ms. Florence. Yeah, here. Okay, on a short sharing sessions, I believe, on the title From Malaysia to NASA, Success and Challenges, My Journey to Fulfill My Dreams. Okay, and I hope the event today will be a fruitful event. Yeah, and we have kids kat situ pun. Okay, already spark the interest. Okay, so at least one rep. Okay, yeah. For this, yeah. Okay, so with that short speech, I give back to the chairperson.
Thank you very much for that. I would like to invite our representative from the US Embassy to give some words.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Riaz. I'm from the Public Affairs section of the US Embassy. Just wanted to thank University Malaya and ASTI and my colleagues at the econ section for putting this great presentation. Of course, Florence for being the main star and getting to do this presentation. But first and foremost, I wanted to say the Public Affairs section of the US Embassy is a great believer and a promoter of STEM in general, and more so women in STEM. So we have great programs lined up. We had done space exploration themed program. We worked with Andrew here beside me, and he had done Beyond the Moon exhibition, and we brought it across nationwide. And we have grants, programs, all this ever ready to be used in this purpose. Please reach out to me, and we could work something out or have a proper discussion on that. The other element that I need to inform everyone is we do have American Corners. These are Mini America, and it's attached to state libraries, We have them in Tang, Kedah, Sarawak, and one soon in KL. And they have incorporated within them makerspace. So it's used, it's open to public and it's open to students. Please use them. And I know University Malaya has a bunch of makerspaces. So and probably you don't have to travel there to do it, but if you do have need an outpost or satellite, please use these makerspaces. Quick shout out to some of our audiences. I know a particular school is joining us. This is SMK SBU, and this Miss Jayanti and her students are joining us as well.
Okay.
So she's a science enthusiast and a space enthusiast, so she's joining us from Trans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yes. I'm having that they just give a couple of words from representative. Please.
I don't take too much of people's time. I say we are also very much believer in not just time. So we believe that you need to understand science and not necessarily to be a scientist. So whatever you want to do, the scientific way of thinking is very useful for daily life. So that's what we promote in schools and with young people from primary all the way and tertiary as well. So we are proud and honored to have Florence here with us today. And I look forward to being inspired. Yeah. No pressure. Yeah.
Okay, now I would like to introduce our main star for today. Okay, but let me read a bit about your class, please. She's very eager to give the inspiring talk. Okay, I think Miss Florence holds the MBA and Master of Science in Electrical Engineering from Johns Hopkins University, and she has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Maryland. And Florence has been recognized with the NASA Exceptional Achievement Medal, the Robert Goddard Exceptional Achievement, and multiple NASA Special Ed Awards. That's a lot of awards, okay? Among just some of her achievements are design and build electronics and writing software for 7 mass spectrometers that had been sent forth into the various quadrants of the solar system. It's very impressive. She is also currently the electrical lead engineer of the Mars Organic Molecule Analyzer (MONA) on ExoMars and a European rover launch in 2020. But like Casey Kasim once said, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. This saying would sum up the life of Miss Florence Tan, who was born in Malaysia and works with NASA, exploring the majestic universe with her feet firmly planted on Earth. As a young person, she was inspired by the famous Star Trek series. Yeah. To be a space explorer, she worked hard to reach Fulfil, which landed her an internship later, a career at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Florence to give her talk.
So thank you very much, everyone. This is such a warm welcome. I really appreciate the food that we took. And thank you, Dr. Yunus, for organizing this, your team, the ASTI team. And thank you, U.S. Embassy, all of you, Juan and Kylie. And you, I just met you. So really thank you. And thank you especially also to UC Malaya for hosting this. Shall I use this? It helps. I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can hear me and if the online can hear me, can people hear me online? Can you hear me online?
Yeah.
I'll just get closer. Is that better? Okay. Okay. So it's an honor to be invited here. And can you display the charts, please? So anyhow, I really am enjoying my time here. You know, waking up at 3 a.m. no problem. I get to enjoy the hospitality that Malaysia has afforded. I know, everybody's so welcoming. So when I was growing up, UC Malaya was this place I could, aspire to because it's a university, right? And that's something that I wanted to go to. All my life, I've sort of been told, education. So it's sort of come in my head. So next chart. Oh, by the way, I've now moved on to be the Deputy Chief Technologist for NASA Science, Directorate, as well as the coordination lead for small sats and CubeSat for NASA at headquarters. Okay, so I should just push my next chart. Okay, so from Malaysia to building something on Mars. That's something that I've done, and it's been a journey. It's been crazy, it's been wild, and I enjoyed every moment of it. So when I was about a young engineer, I was given the opportunity to build something to go to Mars, and we at NASA we have something called gravity assist, right? To get to Saturn, you had to end up taking your ride is just not yeah, thank you. Your ride is just not the rocket's not big enough to launch all the way to Mars. So what we do is we use something called a very clever trick called gravity assist. And what the gravity assist does is it takes a little bit of energy from the planet as you whip around the planet so that it can go a little faster. The planet slows down a little bit, but you're going faster. So it's like, conservation of energy here in a way. So thing is, space, solar system is really, really, really vast. So can I have like about 10 volunteers come up here and stand by the planet, just so that you can help me have the people see. So Elliot, come on. We want to yeah, no, that's good. You should like this. And here. And here. So you come get a planet. So we can get one. So you can. So you okay, so we need more, we need the sun, put the sun, so you can stand here. For the sun. Okay, somebody, come on. I need more people. The talk can't happen.
Okay, sure.
I'm wearing this one.
So Earth,
Yeah.
Mars. Okay.
Good.
Mars, Earth. Okay. So we need somebody to be Pluto, which is outside the room. Okay. So the reason I want to get you guys up is you're sitting around, so it's really nice to stand up. So stand by Mars like that, like this. Face everybody face and pull up the start. And stand by. Okay, yeah. The point is about this is that okay. So the point about this is that I shrunk the solar system down to this size of this room, and the way you look at it proportionally is that essentially everything is bunched up. Actually, it's actually a lot closer, but the inner planets are really, really close in. And to get to Saturn, you need to really do some big gravity assist. And the gravity assist that you take, actually for Cassini was Venus, Earth, Jupiter, and then finally Saturn. It took so long, right? it takes about 7 years to get there. You travel, it's only it's like 900 million miles away, Saturn. But to get there, we had to go through about 2.1 million miles of billion miles, sorry, of going around, right? Is it billion? 900 million? Yeah, 2.1 billion. And so you go 1.2 billion miles more to just get to Saturn. So it's really, really far away, right? And sometimes you need, first of all, to get through Venus, which is really hot, 130 degrees, and then you have to get to Saturn, which is really, really cold, and it's 210 degrees, minus 210 degrees Celsius. So the conditions that you go through is long and hard, and you can't do it without gravity assist. So in life, it's like this too, right? The journey is long. It's often difficult conditions. The path is kind of windy, right? You have to get some kind of gravity assist to get you there. So that's my point. I did not do this by myself. There's a lot of gravity assists I have, and today I'm going to try and tell you about my gravity assists. So thank you, everyone. So go back. So a little bit of physics, a little bit of planets, a little bit of everything. Thank you for your help. I so appreciate it. Thank you especially. Yes, you're so cute. Okay. So you may have to optimize, you may have to plan, you may have to, it takes ways to execute the plan to get there faster, more efficiently, however more effectively. But the point is, when the opportunity arises, you seize it. Very important. So what are my gravity assists? Well, this is me working on the Cassini spacecraft in 1994 at JPL. We were testing. And again, I showed you what the gravity assist was. You had to go through Venus twice, and then Earth, Jupiter. And, I have a story to tell you. My daughter was born a month after my younger daughter was. Now she's actually a graduate student. But before, I always told her, I said, when you're 7, Cassini's get to 7. And she used to roll her eyes. She's like, yeah, Mom, whatever, boring. Then lately she said to me, she said, really cool, I guess what you've done. And she kind of like validated me, so I feel very good about that. So one of the things that I think about is that, with your gravity assist, this can be you. It's very important to think big. It's okay, right? You can always try. So I grew up in Muar Johor. For those of you who know Muar, it's Tanjung. I actually, my younger brother is still, a little baby, so sorry, his picture is not in here. But I'm a little kid. I grew up in a town where we didn't have traffic lights. We had block lights. I remember these, by the way. I remember crossing the street the first time the traffic light showed up. I was pretty amazed because it was like, what's this? This light would tell me to cross the street because there were no cars at all either. So it's kind of interesting. And we had, trishaws. So that sometimes we go to school that way. And I lived sometimes with my grandfather, sometimes with my parents, depending on whether my father was very not well. So he was, we spent a lot of time with my grandparents. But my parents were very instrumental in my growing up years. And they provided little thrusts to make us be successful, I think. And one thing they did was they provided me access to books. So we didn't have very many books. So I would read books from my father's school. They had literature, or my uncle's schools, and so it's mainly textbooks. But my mom was a school teacher, so she made it possible for us to borrow 4 books from the school, and my sister and I would have veto power over each other. So she borrowed 2, I borrowed 2, and that's how we got some of our books. And the thing that's interesting is that I always remember, right? This is actually the modern Muar. more libraries. This is your I just looked at your library. You guys have so many books. I just looked at the 1.4 million titles, 2.1 million items with various formats, access to 71 online databases, and 46,000 e-journals. Amazing. So the opportunity that you have is great. Seize it. It is important to take advantage of your gravity assist. And those things, it's a precious resource, and kudos for UN for having this. So my very first gravity assist is a gentleman next to my house, and he was the one who told us, my parents, about MRSM Guangdan, or MRSM in general, and it enabled me to go to school at a very good school. Enabled me to get a Mara loan, which then pushed me towards the trajectory, that boost I got, right? The gravity assist that I got to get me, and it sparked a lifelong interest in science because they had a very good science program. And these are my classmates. So the school is interesting. They name the classes each year after some noble gas. So 5 classes, 5 noble gases. We were neon. And so this is the neon class. And the school had, within the first time you come into the school, you were told you're going to have a musical performance at the end of the year, and you will organize this, you will make this happen. My teachers at the school made it happen, right? Somehow these 12-year-old kids put a whole musical performance together with music, with a whole band, with lights, with all the makings of organizational abilities. And we had swimming lessons, we had music lessons, and we had teachers that were so well qualified. This is when my parents, they're not college graduates. The teachers not only had bachelor's degrees, they had master's degrees. They were into it 3 times. They had to be good teachers that would be suitable for teaching these kids. I mean, we were also tested before we got in. I had to apply like a college thing. We had to take a test. We had to get interviewed before we got in. But that was just superb education. And this was SPM at the time when SPM was around, and we had no uniforms. That was the other thing that was interesting. Later they gave us uniforms, but before, in the beginning times, we had no uniforms. So that gravity assist was pretty amazing that I could do that. So my parents certainly guided me by example. My father was essentially an orphan. His father died when he was 2. And he somehow, even with the war interrupting his life, he made it through high school, because when the war came, he was 9. And when the war ended, he was 13. And they put him in standard 4 for 3 months, and 5 for 3 months, and 6 for 3 months. And basically, lots of people dropped out because they could not hack the education where you're given the accelerated education for essentially 4 years of very, very, developmental classes into 1 year. So that's what they did until he got to Form 1, where he was 13 and Form 1. So somehow my father really struggled, and I saw that. I saw his struggle, and I thought, okay, go to school. We didn't go to school. We don't have the salaries, right? They watch people who they taught, students who they taught, come back and teach with twice the salary immediately, right? So I think that really made me think very hard about why we wanted to do it. Sometimes that the adversity really pushes you to become more determined. Certainly my parents played a big role to that. So I flew for the first time when I Mara loan. Thank you, Mara, because I couldn't have been here without that. And I went to the US, and that was a 33-hour journey. I thought I'd never flown before. Well, none of my family had flown because it was just out of our financial reach. That shorted me of flying for a while now. And so when I got to the US, there were lots of different terms. And I certainly remember, I still use a torch instead of flashlight. But the one thing I remember was this one here, eraser and rubber, because I I used the wrong term when I went to the store and buy it. So don't use the word rubber. So you know, there's a lot of networking that you do in life. You do this kind of unconsciously, but sometimes, you know, opportunities, again, you know, little boosts and thrusts that push you along that direction of where you're going. So I took physics 3 in this is in University of Maryland, where I was going to school, and I met, you know, my best friend there. You know, she's a girl at the time who was going to Goddard Space Flight Center as an intern, and I said, you know, I didn't even think of internships. I just thought it was unreachable to me, like everybody telling me this is not reachable because you can't get in there. Is, you know, I'm a foreign student, I'm a F1 visa, that would never happen. But it turns out, she said to me, she said, you know, they're looking for interns, you should go interview, but this guy is really hard guy. And I also found out also at the same time that the university had a partner program where they brought students from the university to train at Goddard, and you could still be a student because it's considered working in the university, and that's allowed. So I was just lucky. Sometimes, you know, when the universe gives you something, you seize it, right? So the interview was at Goddard Space Flight Center, and the question that was given was derive Maxwell's equation. Now, I was taken aback because it was a programming class. Now, Maxwell's equations is an set of equations that Maxwell put together to basically, for the first time, look at how, you know, when electromagnetic waves, light, how they are physically represented by this equation. And you can actually, you need it for your cell phones, you need it for GPS signals, right? All those things. So I had to derive these equations, which I did, and he kept saying, wow, that's pretty good for an undergrad, and I got the job. So one of the things that I realized, you know, you can have enough boost, right? Like my friend gave me a boost to introduce me to the right person. But when you get that boost, you should be prepared to take that opportunity. And sometimes it means that sometimes the things that you do today that you think, oh my gosh, I just have to study this, I'm just going to finish this, I'm, you know, going to just do that. But it actually is important to think about it from a different point of view, is that these are the skills that you use, and you will use it, and no knowledge is wasted. So you think about it from that point of view. And if you learn it well, sometimes it provides you that little boost to get forward. It's happened to me over and over again. I truly, you know, think that just learn things well. So when I got to Goddard, I had all these mentors. So the first person that hired me was this guy here, and he was the person who took the rockets, right, the V2 rockets from the captured German rockets, and actually launched these pioneered the launching of instruments to space to study aeronomy. And the way they did it was, these are 2,000-pound payloads, and what they did was they put the payload in, they put the battery in, and then they filled the thing with melted lead, and they launched those things. And he pioneered that, and because of that, Dr. Hassan was the one who actually hired me for the Cassini mission. But before that, right, before everybody hired me, I was just, when this guy hired me, I was just a data analyst. And this fellow, Stanway, figured out that I was an electrical engineer, that I should be going to another place to train, because data analyst is looking at kind of business data, not very interesting for a real engineer who's doing design. So he told me, go to see his friend. It was an internal transfer. Again, another boost. Amazing, right? People look out for you. I could have just said, I'm kind of comfortable here, forget it, right? But the fact is, people say you need to go because I see the potential in you. And the other thing is, for the people who are mentoring others, think about it, right? You can give somebody else a push. I got pushed out the nest, right? Comfortable, not, you're going out, you're getting trained. I worked with a bunch of engineers in another building, learned a lot, and guess what? he won the proposal for the Cassini mission, and they were looking for engineers. Again, I was in the right place at the right time. It was an internal transfer. They already knew me from the first time around, and they took me. So and then when I started working, these are the key people that I worked with, very, very key engineers, world-class engineers, by the way. And this is the PI for the SAM instrument on the 2000. These are superb systems engineers. I met my husband again, when I transferred over. So again, life happens. This is serendipitous. I sometimes feel like all, little particles, Brownian motion, and occasionally you get to meet your life partner too. So the pictures from Titan made me understand why I really love this job. It's because, when you see that payback, it's so satisfying. And again, the insignificance of Earth. This is a real picture taken where you can see, but this is clearly not a real picture, but the Earth taken from Saturn, that insignificant little pale dot. So because also the other thing is, the gratitude of being able to work in such two places. So when I was, for some challenges, when I was starting to work, I think they didn't have any women's rooms that because they were all men, and so they switched some of the men's room to women's room. So this is the sign that clearly tells you what it is. The other challenge I faced was when I was pregnant with my daughter, my older one, who's actually getting married soon. So I decided I needed to nurse because the woman's milk confers antibodies for germs. COVID pandemic, kind of proves it. But at the time, I knew this is an important thing. So I asked for a lactation room. I was told no. This was not important. Very minimal. You don't need it. It's just short term. And I joined the Women's Advisory Committee. We worked on all the way up to the center director of Goddard Space Flight Center. And after about 5 years, we PowerPoints, we got this lactation facility. But the first time that we tried it, we was said no. So they called it, by the way, the first time I was told finally to get it, they said this is a lactation lab, only at NASA, lactation lab. I think what prompted me to do this was a year after I had given birth, I saw another woman pregnant. I thought, I was doing my lactation pumping in the bathroom, which is disgusting. And I decided that this is not good. It's time for me to do my thing, right? So again, that boost that you give, sometimes it comes around and you gotta boost also so that you help others because there's others. So just giving you a timeline. I gave birth, so I asked for the lactation room 3 months pregnant when I found out. Gave birth, nursed her for 14 months. My daughter, then I think launched 2 mass spectrometers. Second daughter was born. I nursed her for 22 months. I got my master's in the meantime too, during that time. Then the lactation room was built. I put together the first room and, got all the user's guide, everything, and I was so afraid they would take it away. So I made people sign into the show metrics. But it took all that. I finished nursing the second kid. So it's easier to actually do all those things than to get a lactation room. But what is interesting is that you have to change hearts and minds, right? Hearts and minds are the hardest things to change. And one of the things that you have to be aware of in any field, in any working thing, is hearts and minds. So I think there's an article that came out about me that said Florence thinks English is really important. That you should be really learning to communicate. And it really is true because we got that room because we needed the lactation room and we had to communicate. That is how we all have to work. And changing heart and mind, hearts and minds, you need to communicate. So in 2006 or so, I was asked to lead the electrical design and build of the SAM instrument on the Curiosity rover. And this is the actual picture of the rover, selfie that arm takes it on Mars. And the SAM instrument is a mass spectrometer, but it's an instrument suite. And it looks like this, right? It was built at Goddard Space Flight Center, but not all the pieces are from Goddard. I had to lead a team of engineers to put this together from various places, including France, JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and Goddard. And we had industry support from people in New Hampshire, people in New York. We had Michigan, UC of Michigan work for us. So I had a lot of people work on this. And I have to say that this is the hardest thing I ever did in my life, because there were 2,000 wires just from the hardware to the power supply. Everything has to be right. There were over 100 meters. This is like a superlative, right, in terms of building this hardware and pumps. You're basically taking hardware from the size of this room and shrink it down to the size of microwave, about 40 kilograms. So of course it was hard, but it was a team, right? It takes a team, it takes a diversity of thought to get things put together, and it takes not giving up, and it takes also the ability to have that common goal. So, so this is a very important picture because you can see the date. It's the first time we actually got spectra from the mass spectrometer in 2006, and you can see that this guy, he's a mentor, and this is the PI. So it's pretty exciting that we got the first mass spectrometer, and I had to lead all these engineers who sometimes may not agree with you, and you've got to be working as from the perspective of the team and making sure that we have that common goal and understanding it. But this project, there's a story behind this project. So early on, we did not pass what we call the systems design review. This is a first level review. You don't pass, it's not good. So we had to do a delta review. And the PI was told, who's this Florence scan? I've never seen her in any major role. She can't be that good. We should replace her. Because when things fail, right, the first thing bosses do is they replace people. Right? I did not get replaced. He stood by me. So sometimes you gotta think about the people that work for you, and you gotta let them, give them the chance, give them that boost. Because this job, this talk is not about just you getting the boost. It's you giving somebody a boost. Bring them up. And that's actually something that I've enjoyed all my life, and I really pay attention to that. And I go back and think about it. So this is just some pictures. I want to show you what happened to Sam. We had to take off the rover wheel. You can see it here, the rover wheel. And then we lowered the Sam 40 kilogram into the belly of the beast, and we put it together. And this is me in front of the rover, and you can see it's turned upside down. I think behind here is the shell. You can see that the rover goes in. So this is a nice picture. We actually test the rover in the environment it sees. So I have a story here too. So during the test, there was an anomaly. So JPL Jet Propulsion Laboratory had only 10 days, and we were running these tests $1 million a day. They didn't have very much budget, so this is it. And so to test in environment, what happens is you have to find a chamber that's big enough, and the rover is sealed in this thermal vacuum chamber, and we pump it full of nitrogen, and then take out up to 7. So Mars is about 1/100 of the atmosphere of Earth. So 7/4, like we're 7/4. So they were truckloads of liquid nitrogen outside, pumping into a huge chamber, and we would just walk in. It's like walking through this kind of, very like heaven, like all this cloudy thing, and you walk in, and we would sit there at 7 a.m. They say come in at 7. and you wait because there are 10 instruments on this rover, and you test one instrument at a time. So by the time we turned our instrument on that day, it was at 9 p.m. Pretty tired. So the test would run for 2 hours, and this was a multi-hour test, and the rover would shut down. Okay, something happened, oh, let's reset, let's go again. Second time shut down. By then it's like 1 or 2 a.m. We're all pretty tired. So we troop into the room about this size. Everyone was a man. Every single person was a man. I was the only woman. I was leading our group because I was the senior person there. And they wanted to stop this test because we need. So this was the cold cycle. You do thermal cycles to just make sure that you experience the heat of of space because it gets pretty hot and sun beating on you. And then when you go to Mars, it's pretty cold, like -70 every night. So you have to really test in the environment it's safe. So when you go cold to hot, the moment you heat up, it takes a long time to cool the chamber this side. So I knew the moment you can go hot, you're not going cold again. And we only have that much money and that much time. So I kind of spoke out. I said, you need to do this test. Without this test, we don't know the thermal behavior of our instrument, and we have a risk of not making it. So guess what? No. So somebody actually noticed that I was the only woman and said, what do you think? I said, I just want to do the test, right? I noticed I was the only woman, but I didn't feel afraid to ask to do things because it's that important, right? Sometimes you can, put the facts out. But what happened was when we got to Mars, we got to the temp, we finally could run it, and our instruments, what we call safe. When you run on Mars, if something is anomalous, the software would autonomously save. Say the temperature is slightly off. Even if it's a degree off, you can save because you don't want to run away situation. You don't have this the one-way light time, and also the only time you can communicate is when the orbiter goes over the rover at 10 a.m. local mean solar time, that's the Mars time, and that's when you start uplinking the information to the orbiter, and then the orbiter goes to the DSN, Deep Space Network, and then you get the data sometime later. So when something saves on Mars, it's a big deal. But I had to go up to the top floor of the JPL operations team and explain to the project manager, who was very annoyed because this is a 2.4 billion spacecraft that is not working that day because you saved. I kind of thought about it and said, we could have run this test, but we didn't have money. So sometimes you take risks, sometimes you have to deal with it. But I thought it was interesting to just share with you the story. Here's me in front of the rover at Cape Canaveral. We actually shipped this to Cape Canaveral and then to test some more. And during that time, we were testing, so I got to go see the rover. We launched 2011, and this is a very interesting picture too. So this tells you about the diversity of our group. So there are 4 women and 4 men. Actually, Forbes magazine published this picture as it's NASA diverse. So that's the question. I'm the only engineer. Here's the PI. She is now the director of JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab, Laurie Lashif. He's from Tunisia. So I'm from Malaysia, right? There's a lot of different groups that play, and it takes a team. It's not just me doing this, but it takes a team. So this is after touchdown. Here's Mount Sharp where we landed. We landed on a 154-kilometer wide crater with a mountain in the middle, like a and it was actually a dry leg bed. And President Obama gave us congratulations, and this is the elated, very relieved team. So you can see rocks on this rover when you landed. So actually, it damaged one of the wind sensors. We have a wind sensor, like we call it our weather station, damaged it because of rock. Actually, the way this thing landed is pretty amazing. We have to think about how to land it, and now all the rovers that are big, like this is 900 kilograms. When it lands, when it comes in, it's going at 13,000 miles per hour. The heat shield actually slows it down some. That deploys. Then we actually put the parachute out. The parachute slows it down to about 200 miles per hour, and it's still not enough to slow down. So we have to lower it down by sky crane. So you put fire thrusters But you don't want to trust this fire with the thing stuck because then there's too much damage to the spacecraft. So you actually lower the spacecraft by sky crane. So if you have time, go look at this movie called 7 Minutes of Terror, and it's crazy. So Maven. So I worked on Maven. At the same time that this was happening, I worked on 2 other flight missions. I know we're crazy. And Maven was another mass spectrometer we launched 2 years after SAM. And so I have a story on Maven too. Again, this is me speaking up. When we were testing, so the thing you do when you test hardware is you test it in the environment. So when you launch something, you need to test it, vibration testing, X, Y, and Z, random X, Y, and Z. And you also need to do acoustic testing for the sound. And during the testing, something broke in my instrument. So I told her, I said, you gotta replace it. I know exactly where it broke. It's the RF system. I have data. And we cross-checked with SAM. I cross-checked with 5,000 different subsystems. By the time you test all of things, it's like 5,000 different lines of code to really go through everything. Because sometimes it's dependencies, right? If you turn on a heater, that temperature is going up, so you want to know that, and that's the time, and it's a curve that you can plot. Similarly, if you turn on a pump, the current's going to go up, and you can see the initial bump, and then you look at it's like everything is a signature. So this thing had a problem. So then everybody kind of said, no, deliver this, it's too late, and this is January, we're launching in November. I couldn't convince people that this is a good thing, that we should replace it, take it, but we had all those marching milestones to go. So we take the hardware and we ship it to Lockheed Martin, where it was integrated to the spacecraft. And the thing you do when you bring hardware to any place is you test it when you arrive, so that you can say, look, it works, and then do something. Didn't work. Reset. So I said, there's a problem. But I couldn't get them to change their minds because I couldn't tell them where the problem was. I only used the RF system. So I called up and down, and meantime, I'm sure they were all worried. So that's a risk. We put our risk consequences in our likelihood chart. And so then the QA guy says, look, when we go to the Cape, and take it out. That's one time to take it out. So like around June, I said, no, we're going to take it in August. Can we take it out? Oh, no. There's no reset now. You're fine. Go to the Cape, test it, because you arrive and test it, reset. So now everybody's like, alert because we're launching in November. This is like end of August, September, end of September, almost September. We then have to go have a meeting. So I basically, but this time I convinced people. I said, we need to. So I went to everybody and told them multiple reasons why. I said, you're going to fly a break. You have 4 chances of not working when you get to Mars, because when you launch, there's a vibration a situation there. You get to Mars orbit insertion, and otherwise when the arm deploys, you get another vibration. And then when you fire your pyros to take, basically the covers low, you have another place where you can vibrate and not work. So they said, okay. But you don't take out hardware about 2 months before launch. That just doesn't happen very much, right? Because that's everything is integrated spacecraft. The spacecraft is going to put on a rocket. But we did it, right? This is me speaking. So sometimes, you have to make your own moves. Government shuts down. What to do? We're sitting out on the gate. They're really taking it off the spacecraft, and everybody's driving. We had a guy driving a chase car with liquid nitrogen and dry nitrogen flowing to keep the thing safe, shut down. So the way that we got around it was that this spacecraft had a radio that would be used to communicate with the rover that's already on Mars, and that's called protecting property. And when you shut down, you have these exigencies that you can take. So we got a waiver to go in and work. And boy, that 3 weeks went really fast. We took it out. We just replaced it with a unit that we had on hand, and we buttoned it up. We did a quick thermal test, vibe test, and I don't think we did EMI EMC, which is electromagnetic interference test. and then we just shipped it all the way to the Cape, stuck it on the rocket, a rover. I mean, not rover, stuck it on the spacecraft, put the spacecraft on the rocket, launched it. 6 weeks. So we did it, and very, that's I think that's me. I was sitting there really happy. We launched. So we get to Mars like within a month. Somebody or 2 months. Oh no! Before we arrived, somebody in Australia observed a comet that was going to fly past Mars. And sometimes, again, life gives you an opportunity. So this comet was going to come really close. You can see the closest approach is like 130,000. So the moon is about 250,000 kilometers away from us. So this is really close, right? And the reason I brought this up is because here's an opportunity that we have for this. This instrument is called Neutral Gas Ion Mass Spectrometer, NGIMS. And you know what? In 2001, I worked on this another instrument called the Neutral Gas Ion Mass Spectrometer, and right? Sometimes life gives you a set. The fact is, when Sighting Spring came about, we didn't know that we were going to actually have a chance to fly through the comet stuff that was coming so close to Mars that it made all kinds of gases. Because Contour, which is this instrument, was going to this spacecraft was going to fly through some comets, but because it blew up, we never had the chance. So the universe has delivered us an opportunity. Sometimes things like just boosts come your way, and you should just take the chance. So we did that, and it was the first measurement of comet dust. From we actually hit behind Mars, wait for the comet to pass, and then we just timed it so that just as it goes past the closest approach, we flew into the comet tailing and made measurements, and it created lots of great papers. First measurement of Oort cloud comet. So my point is, life is long and treacherous. And I have other missions that I've supported, but I think I'm gonna stop here because it's time. And I want to challenge this group, right? You guys are you're all the brightest minds of Malaysia, and think about what you can do to get boost, give yourself, help others, and what you plan. And this is from Mary Oliver. I like to read poetry, but I really like this line, right? Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As a mom also. All right, so I think now we shall open for Q&A. So let's see if we have questions coming from our, we can open for both. Yeah, coming from the online or also the physical participants. So do we have any questions from the online? Let me see if we have, do you have any from the chat box? If you are not able to turn on your mic, you can always ask the question through the chat box to the online participants. Oh, we also have this being broadcast in the YouTube channel. So maybe the team also can check if there's any questions coming from the YouTube channel. Just let me do that. So we can play that. Okay. All right.
Hello.
All right, you have a question there. Yes, please.
Yes, hello. Hi, my name is Danish Rushdi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for your experience and sharing with us today. I have two questions regarding NASA, as you are the representative for NASA, right? So as of now, I know this based on your explanation that you guys are exploring Mars as of now, right?
Oh yeah, I
Hello?
think your line is breaking, sir.
Type your question.
Can you type your question because your line is breaking, so we kind of like hearing you like a robot.
We cannot hear you.
We cannot hear you well. We are breaking up. Is it okay for you to type your questions, Mr. Danish? Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I type my question.
Yeah. All right. I think he was asking something about Mars exploration.
Mars,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. While we're waiting for that, oh yes, yes,
Can I ask
please.
a question?
Yeah. Kevin.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Lin. Quick question. Just now mentioned gravity assist. So the first question is, what's the difference between gravity assist and slingshot effect? Are they the same or?
I think, I don't, actually, I not sure what slingshot versus, but I think gravity assist, I understand.
Okay. Okay. Right, and the second question is, how do we as Malaysian get an internship?
You know, that's been the question my entire week here. Yeah, everybody asked that. Actually, I'm nobody special. I just was lucky to get it. I think that there are ways to do this kinds of internship. I think one of the things that is very important is if really sometimes it's grassroots level where you're working already in a conference with somebody and they collaborate through data analysis and eventually say you're on a, I don't know what your job is, but presumably you're here working so sabbatical, then you could go say, can I have a sabbatical, and work with you closely in person, in real life. That's one way I've seen that happen. Sometimes there are programs that bring you, right? That also has happened with different countries, but that's beyond, you would have to know about the program to apply to it to get it. There's also a third way, which is you figure out working with others again and asking for that internship. If you have the skills that they need, that's also a possibility. But I actually tell the story of that happening actually one time I've seen somebody actually approaching the PI of one of my instrument and saying, I have these skills, you need to take me. And he actually looked her up and she was from India and they took her, right, in the middle of a pandemic. And it takes a person who is confident that that they can do the work and they have something to offer. But as I said to you, a lot of times you're gathering your skills. Sometimes the skills that you think are not so useful end up helping you get that job. I think those are the different ways that I know of internship, applying for it, arranging for it at the grassroots level or through a program. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get one online first before we go? So actually, we have questions from Rachel, if you can. Yeah. Yeah, the top one. Physics major.
No, actually not. You can be different types of degrees to get a job, right? So physics, we have physicists, we have engineers. I'm an engineer, I'm not a physicist. We have also any resource analysts, but we tend to hire local for that because accountants, for example, because you need to disperse funds. We have different skill sets that are unique to what the agency needs. So the answer is yes, you can get.
Maybe the second question from the online first. The challenges that you faced.
Oh, there was definitely social pressure, and when I go out, right, people look at me in US, they think Asian Chinese women. They don't even know I'm from Malaysia, right? They just say Chinese women, right? Not Japan, not Korea, Chinese. Not engineer, just before I open my mouth, they assume that people would sometimes talk to me because they don't, not so much anymore, but of course there's, but you try to dispel that by being friendly and say, and trying to disarm by just being open. And that's how I've always handled my life.
Okay, maybe we get one physical question, Miss Florence.
Thank you, Ms. Florence, for the talk. Really enjoy it. I just had a question to ask regarding the electronic panel. So for may I know the difference in when it comes to designing electronic components, semiconductors, working on the Earth versus working in space or on Mars? What are the challenges when it comes to making sure the electronic components can work in outside?
That's very good question. So first of all, I can tell you how to design the space, right? Three things. Number one, understand your environment. The hardware has to work in the environment. Number two, once you understand the environment, pick the best part that will, for your need and design it. Pick a good design. The third thing is to test it in the environment. So what are the challenges about space? Radiation, thermal, cold and hot, vibration, right? Sometimes you have planetary protection issues, like if you go to Mars, you want to keep it clean. So how do you do it? You bake it. So again, you don't have to bake it for Mars, but you're baking it to clean it, right? So dry microbial heat reduction, DHMR, is something that NASA has pioneered, and you have to bake it really hot, or you can use some kind of chemical heating to get the spores out. So there's a lot of activity, and then of course operational life. How long you operate? So those are the challenges. There's no repairability, of course. We can't replace it. When you pick the parts, you have to fit all those criteria. So there are things that you can, like for radiation is pretty understood. A lot of times we just buy these S-class parts that are military grade, super tested, known good die, and then they put it through a test. And you get that fast part curve, the infant mortality, and of course random defect, and then finally, obviously when it gets old, it dies. So you try and weed out the infant mortality part and take out the random defect. But you design with that in mind. So sometimes you design you make sure that you're down to the understanding that if radiation comes through your silicon wafer, you might have to leakage that you consider when you design. You could design as well as taking the right part. Does that answer your question?
So I have like Mr. Chihao from the online. Do you want to ask question, sir?
Oh, yes. Also, I'm a child, but I have two questions. So, my first one is that what scholarships do you suggest that I should go for to work in NASA? And my second question is, do you think that bringing samples back from Mars, or actually any celestial body, or for that matter, is a possibility?
So what scholarship is it? You want to
Uh,
work? I don't
I
know the Malaysian scholarship. I assume it's Malaysian.
Yeah,
yeah, I am.
yeah.
So maybe using Malaya people can come.
I think it depends on the measuring that which field that you are going into. So that depends on the bodies that is going to provide for the scholarship. So it's kind of like a very general question for that, but I think there's a lot of like scholarship being offered, not only like the government, we also have the private, like the banks and all the foundation, but you need to choose the right courses or the right program, then it will be brighter for you. Maybe for the second questions.
So Mars sample return is indeed something that NASA is doing. We're planning a program to do that. It's already happening. So with Mars sample return, what you need to do is to launch something to Mars, and then from there land on Mars, deploy something to pick up the samples, come back to the site, have a little lander take off. There's another orbiter up there that you can lob your sample to the orbiter, and then the orbiter takes off and comes home. So there's of course many steps. NASA's already doing that, starting to do that, and it's called MSR, Mars Sample Return. And the first step already has happened. The Perseverance rover on Mars that is now roaming Mars is taking little samples, you know, the size of like a chalk, and caching it so that the future missions can do this big plan where we're sending two spacecraft, one of the other, one lands, goes pick. It's all a lot of curve route. Yes. So that's already happening. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm going to combine two questions from them. How about like the chemical sciences? Is it like the qualification that if she wish to pursue her career, and also like which courses? Like I think you have answered it earlier.
Yes, I think we need chemists to mass spectrometry research. You know, so just to give you an idea, robotic missions is under the Science Mission Directorate. I work under the Science Mission Directorate. We have several divisions. They are heliophysics, they study the sun. Earth Science Division studies the Earth. Planetary science is all the planets, not the stars. Astrophysics is the stars. And there are three main reasons why we actually think about these going to do this exploration. Big questions. Are we alone?
Mhm.
Are we alone in this whole universe? Discover the secrets of the universe. Number two, is there life elsewhere besides Earth? And number three, protect and improve life on Earth and in space. Those are the things that drive us. And there are different divisions depending on what you're interested in that would be used, that would need chemistry majors, physics majors, biology majors, right? We need astrobiologists. How cool is that? Huh? Astrobiologists as a job.
Very cool. Okay, I think we have Mr. Ame who raised his hand from the online session. Mr. Ame, you want to ask the questions? Okay. Okay, never mind. I think we can answer from Hasif.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, how do you see small sats and CubeSats in the future? Is NASA planning to launch more CubeSats for interplanetary missions like Marco A and B? So the answer is, you know, CubeSats we actually are more moving towards small sat. So CubeSats, for those of you who are uninitiated, they are essentially the size of a shoebox or a loaf of bread. And so they're all in U, they call it U, one unit. One unit of a cube is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And if you have a 3U CubeSat, you have this loaf of bread. If you have a 6U, you have like two loaves of bread kind of squished together. So I am the chair of the Small Spacecraft Coordination Group. I coordinate small spacecraft across NASA, and we think about the issues that is a problem for CubeSats and small sats, mainly because the large sets have more budget, so they're able to handle it. CubeSats kind of new, and we're still trying to figure out the issues. So they're not new anymore. It's 10, 12 years from now. Still, it's new by Space Center.
Yeah.
So the answer is we're actually moving toward constellations of CubeSat or small sats that are maybe the size of the dishwasher, like bigger ones that are more capable. You know, we do have CubeSats that are constellations, like CubeSats to study the sun. The sun is interesting because we are interested in the heliosphere, and the point measurements that you make is not as good as the multi point measurement, and you need some kind of small spacecraft, including CubeSats, to do that. So as to better predict space weather, as we have more and more assets in space. The coronal mass ejections from the sun, like those of the Carrington effect. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but Carrington, scientist dude in the 1850s, looked and studied sun, and he found a big spot. It blew up. It made a big bright burst that disappeared after 5 minutes. But later on, several hours, the telegraph systems across Europe and America started failing, and he turned it off, and people were still able to transmit on the telegraph because it was such a huge event. You never want to have a Carrington event ever, right? So the idea is to be able to do that kind of stuff. So CubeSats and small sats could play a role in that, to study the. I think heliophysics is one of the things that I can see a big growth there.
Mr. Daniel, do you want to ask questions? Mr. Daniel Davies?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi. This is Daniel from Petronas Research. I've got like 3 questions essentially. By the way, thanks for the very interesting talk. The first question is, what do you think of sort of China's sort of very rapid space exploration program? And then the second question is, what do you think will be the challenges, considering the SLS will be having their first sort of wet rehearsal with the Orion spacecraft? So what would be the sort of human exploration challenges going to Mars? And then third, what would be the challenges if we were to sort of colonize Mars, as if what Elon Musk has been saying all this time? Thanks.
Okay. You don't give me easy questions, do you?
Yeah, I think it comes being a researcher.
I'm very happy for China and for the world, because hopefully they'll share the data. As far as the second question was, what was it again?
What do you think would be the challenges for human sort of travel to Mars?
No, you said SLS first, I think, Artemis. I think we're starting to getting ready to launch it. So yeah, they worked very hard on it. So, they're flying 10 CubeSats on that first launch, by the way. So, and international. So that's kind of neat. And the human exploration to Mars, I think we're starting to make inroads, right? Right now, NASA is working on the technologies that are necessary, and we shall see. So the challenges are real. Of course, you have to get there and back, and you don't ever want to leave. Actually, by the way, just so interest to you guys, I don't know when it was, maybe 10 years, probably ago. There was some survey done, and people would go one way to Mars. There were people who would volunteer to do that. That's kind of old, huh? Yes. So I think that it is really exciting to have the space industry to be so vibrant. It is great to enable these industries to grow. I think that the U.S., because I work in the small spacecraft regime now, space is like the commercialization of low Earth orbit is a race out there. There's gold rush, and I think the companies all know that, so they are working. So space used to be kind of like an end-to-end thing where NASA built the figure out what the questions are, built the instrument, put it on the rocket, launched it, got the data back, analyzed the data, published it. Right? That was just kind of a vertical integration. Now there are differentiation. Some companies just do the hardware build. Some companies launch, and some companies just take the data and integrate it every which way and then sell. Right? So Planet Labs, which is a little company, is not, they launched little tiny Earth observing satellites called Dove. They're not a satellite company. They're a data company. So it's quite interesting. Data is used many different ways. They're used to look at the health of an economy. For example, if China is importing lots of oil, and the oil is stored in these tankers, and the tankers actually have go up and down. They have these plungers. You can use machine learning and artificial intelligence to look at the shadow of the cast by these plungers, and then gauge the economy's health. Similarly, Walmart count the number of cars, and again gauge the economy's health in every parking lot across the country, or futures of corn or wheat. Right? You can use AI to look at what's planted and then forecast. So this is big business. I'm very excited about that.
So I think we have a question about the electromagnetism and RF. Is it something that still in need and will be continuing in need?
Yeah, we test our hardware, before we launch. So we do something called EMC testing. They'll set it 461F. Anyway, you need to test to make sure that you're not an aggressor and you're not a victim. So it's radiant emissions, radiant susceptibility, all those types of conductive emissions susceptibility of your hardware. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Can I just answer one question
Yeah,
from
please.
there, and then I'll pass
Yeah.
to you? Yes, because if we get, yeah. What about the development of like space industry in Malaysia? And yeah, how many rovers? Yeah, maybe we can answer the two questions.
How many rovers are there on Mars now? There are 3 rovers that, well, okay, there are several dead ones. But when you say how many rovers that are working, I presume, right? The Chinese rover is on Mars, and we have Curiosity and Perseverance. 3 rovers.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I have a question that is.
Wait, there's the second part here.
Oh, yeah.
So there are plans to explore other planets, yes. We are exploring Jupiter right now. There's a Juno spacecraft. And we are very interested in the moons of Jupiter because they're ocean worlds. And underneath there, one of the big questions is there life elsewhere? So life is interesting. Life has 3 things that maybe make it possible for life. The first thing is you have to have a transport mechanism like water. The second thing is you have to have the building blocks of life like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. And you have a form of energy, something that will help you. So we're talking about microbial life, maybe, right? Maybe not like humans walking around or even shrimp. I'll be thrilled if we found shrimp in the ocean world, but that's something that So,
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question that is follow-up to this survivability of temperature, high temperature survivability of comet. Because I work, I think wells offshore, some people wells, the upper limit of survivability for our equipment is about 5 feet. So I'm just wondering, what is the upper limit for the operational, maximum operation temperature for electronics in space? Is it still around 175 and you rely on each shielding or reflectors for it to work in proper environments, or the upper limit is higher than 175?
So we have several missions that are in plan, and we also have several missions that perform. So for example, the Cargo Solar Probe mission is a mission that touches the sun. So the sun is 93 million miles away from us. We're going to 4 million miles. Very hot. So we actually developed paint that was super, super reflective, that is able to shield and as we fly through and touch the sun essentially. Venus is horrible as an environment. It is 460 degrees Celsius, 90 bar, full of caustic chemicals. So how do you handle that? It's not just the fact that it has to survive. You have to have the right packaging as well, because the thing will just feed into the hardware. So we have research that we're building chips that go to Venus temperature. Yes. So I think that yes, the hardware, the chip, right, the die itself can take about 175. And I know that. But NASA derates it because we don't fly at 175. We fly 40 degrees, according to the numbers, 40 degrees below the maximum temperature or 110 temperature. So in order to keep things cool, we do things that mitigate the temperature by doing thermal analysis to make sure that the hardware never sees whatever the maximum degree temperature is. And it may include actually cooling, it may have so things like heat pipes, things like yes, exactly. So there's all these different things that you can do to keep the system cool to prevent the degradation of the hardware.
I think we have like someone from the online, Mr. Muhammad, want to ask questions. Mr. Muhammad.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hi.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, if you want to ask any questions, Mr. Muhammad, because we still have
Hi, can you guys hear me?
on the speaker. Yeah, I can hear you. hear us, but you just turn on the speaker so we can listen to his question.
Do you have a question?
Okay. Okay. So hi guys. My name is Muhammad Nikmatullah bin Azmi. I am a second year student of applied geology. So since we are talking about the space explorations, so I have one question in mind, which is which is, do NASA need geologists in terms of searching for the soil sample in the outer space, specifically in Mars? That's only my question.
The answer is yes. We have, in fact, we have a bunch of geologists that work on these rovers. You know, the first time we landed on Mars, the first thing we did was, you know, we landed on a place called Bradbury Landing because, you know, Ray Bradbury just had passed away. And the geologists, we have about 400 people working Mars operations. And when we arrived, you know, you have a bus that's being driven by these scientists, and they're all really excited. They go, and we're supposed to go climb Mount Sharp because Mount Sharp is, you know, sediments that you can see without digging, going up to see the evolution of Mars during this time. Instead, we went away from Mount Sharp because they saw that was a little what they can see a lake bed. They think that was a lake. People were really excited. Within like about a month, we had 2 months or something. We had found out that maybe I don't know when the first hole was drilled, so I wouldn't say a month or 2 months. Whenever the first hole was drilled, it was mudstone, right? You know, mudstone is from weathering effects of rock mixed with water. The color was gray, and we knew immediately that there was you know, a lake bed. And then we started analyzing it. We found that the water was there over multiple thousands of years, persistent, neutral pH, not salty. You could drink it if you stood in the water. That was how compelling the evidence were. We knew that Mars could once be able to hold life, you know, be a habitat for life. And we totally need geologists. Like, for example, you know, certain rocks only form in the presence of water. We are interested in these types of things. Absolutely.
So I just a follow up from that question. It's very interesting. Do you have NASA? Do you have sample allocation programs, things like that? You have samples, right?
Yes.
You bring on to Earth, okay? Because JAXA is doing that with the asteroid.
Hayabusa.
Yeah. So something like that. I think NASA is such a huge brand. You know, if you
Yes, they do. They
distribute the
they
sample,
do
you
have
have
I when you say when the Mars sample returns comes back,
Yeah.
I'm sure they have that. I don't know details. I cannot tell you, but I'm sure we have a. I know when it's a quid pro quo type thing. I know we're getting samples from Hayabusa, but closer in, right, Venue, right, Osiris Rex coming home with some samples, and I know we're also giving it to our partners.
Yeah. So we should have a special program for the sample
They do
distribution.
have that. They do have that.
You Malaysian, so to
I am a little shrimp. I don't think that I can ever influence that. You know, it's really the scientists who are working together, and yeah, I don't think that I can. My words don't hold any water.
Florence, maybe you can tell about some qualities or skills that Malaysians should possess to succeed. Like you.
You know, I really got a lot of career boosts in many ways. I don't think I really thank you. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Everybody who helped me move, you know, and people recognizing it. So the skills, of course, you know, be prepared. You have to be sharp. You just have to be like in preparing for these talks, right? This is my 5th talk this week. It took a lot of preparation. So just because I come here, and I think it takes doing, you know, it's not just, oh, we can just, so that's one, be prepared, anticipate the things that you need, and no knowledge is wasted. So, go out there, figure out what you have a passion for. And sometimes, that thing comes back in spades. I have hired interns because I didn't look at their resume, I didn't look at their grades. I just looked at what they did, what their hobby was. And I picked them for their staying power, their quality, that I saw something in them. And that's happened to me multiple times. So, Elliot, you had a question.
First question is, so what was it like, succeeding in all the missions that you've done over the years, and not just succeeding one NASA mission, succeeding multiple? How was that feeling at the various stages?
So, so I didn't succeed every mission, right? One of the Japanese missions I worked on that failed early up. So okay. So Cassini, right? When I first started working at Cassini, I was just scared. It's like, oh, you want me to design this hardware? It's gonna take 7 years to get to Saturn, and it's got 1 hour to go through the moon of Saturn timing, and it has to work. Second one is going to orbit for 2 years around Saturn, and that has to work. So the good thing was, it was 7 years later. Who knows where I would be, right? So one of the things that you don't want to be blamed for any trouble, right? So I spent a lot of time testing all the corner cases of how, because the other thing was they were so bold. They said, okay, you can design this hardware, and by the way, you can also write the software to communicate with the spacecraft. You don't put your eggs in one basket. That was a young basket too. So that was scary. And I got to tell you, it takes, you kind of just take it till you make it sometimes, right? The second thing about successes, Contour blew up. That was my second. So, you're on kind of little wobbly legs, you just started. And then the next mission you worked on, it blew up. And there was a drought of missions until Curiosity happened, and then all these other ones happened. But I think that a lot of people at NASA goes through what I did. Basically, your mission's canceled, your mission blew up, and the PI, for example, the one that's very successful, he had one mission canceled, one mission two missions canceled, one mission blew up, and then he got this one. We had another PI who's I didn't tell you who it was, but he had 3 missions blow up, and then he's got this, the Curiosity, which is very, very successful. People forget that behind all that is a lot of just stick to it type thing. So how do I feel? Of course I feel great that things are successful. You do suffer burnout too. I spend a lot of time, with 2 kids going to school. It's very difficult to be a woman working and dealing with kids. So I would come home, put the kids. I don't want to. I'm a tiger mom, so you don't want to also let the kids watch TV. You want them to succeed. So
Okay, I think
I have to go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You just want, because this Emmer is coming from the SMQB Trinidad Utara, Adam and Emir. So he's really inspired you. So yeah, his suggestion for he want you to suggest to you, she probably
Maybe it's a deep question.
Just give some motivational to Adam. He's in home too. He's in home too.
I got 2 students. I got tired. I want suggestion to get us to explore. So let me tell you the intern I hired. So I hired this intern because he made terrible movie. It was like a world's worst movie in some ways, because it was a full-length movie. But he made this movie. He filmed it. He programmed it on green screen. He did all this stuff. He got his friends and family to do it. And it was a full-length movie. It wasn't that bad. But the point was, he wasn't going to win the Oscars. So, and you knew it was kind of homemade. But his father passed me, I knew his father. And I said, okay, you're graduating from high school. Do you want to come work for me? Because I saw something in him, right? I asked him how long it took to make that movie. It was 2 years. He spent 2 years making this movie. So you got to do what you like. and do what you pursue. And he actually has skills, right? He put this thing together, programming, even though, it takes that kind of stick to itness again, like I said, to make it happen. So I would say learn the stuff well, learn your classes, work hard, all the things. There's no shortcut. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think that's it for the questions, and we'll try to compile all the questions and see how we can. I would like to invite. Okay. So thank you very much. So before I know that you're in a hurry.
No, I actually got a phone call from the guy who's driving me, so I have to text him or something.
Okay. All right. So while we do have some appreciations that we would like to give to Ms. Florence, because I think this is really a big effort here to inspire all of us. Not only that, I think now it's the adults are inspired. So maybe when we go back, we'll tell our children. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to invite Dr. Yunus. Please, Dr. Yunus. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe we want to take some pictures.
Let me call this person.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Please.
I have a call.
Or maybe we can just come to front. Or how long we want to take the pictures with this or yeah, we can turn on all the one whomever is still inside the online. We can just view the top view. Top view. Hello. I'm so yeah, on maximum. All right. So for those who are online, if you can turn on your camera. Hi,
Yeah.
there's a lot, but yeah. Okay. Okay, come please. Let's figure out how we want to do this. Don't worry. It's not going to be much difficult as expectation, Five years. You are very good. Stop already. We can make that or we can see video because we have two screens. So all the one who online, so as online that we will take the pictures. Yeah, then you can know what you can hear. What can you do? Everyone come. I think we can block here because we have another screen of like online. And don't worry about that. Come. Let's figure out how to do this. Yeah. All the boys, can you just sit in front of the girls? Yeah, it's not 6-0. Yeah. That projector, the one, this one. For the button.
I don't think Washington alone can settle it.
This is like that. Everybody has to go. But you have to do it. Yeah. Okay, one more. One. Come. Of course. Wow. It was tough. Okay. So take a smile. Keep it at the yeah, we get those.
Guys, yes, one last one. Go. Okay.
I think the important one more. Okay, just one more is the online. Thank you very much. Thank you.